Welcome to Just Asia, AHRC TV's weekly human rights program. These are the headlines. Activists in Geneva call for UN envoy to be appointed for Balochistan. Protesting farmers cast their legs in cement outside presidential palace in Indonesia. An open letter to Sri Lankan ministers regarding police extrajudicial killings. A racist attack on a tenant in Bangalore, India. Burmese monk banned from making public sermons for a year. Female students in India confined to their dormitories during the Holi festival. Urgent appeals from Sri Lanka and Burma. Welcome to HRC TV's Just Asia. I'm Jessica Fernando. This week, Just Asia begins with Pakistan. Activists at a protest outside the UN office in Geneva on Tuesday called for a special rapporteur to be appointed to look into the deteriorating human rights situation in Balochistan. Leading the protest, Baloch activist Mehran Marri said that the past 4 to 5 months had seen a particularly brutal period with the abduction and disappearance of women and children. The activist Amar Khan has said that at least 25 of the 30 articles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights have been thrown to the wind by Islamabad in dealing with Balochistan. Extrajudicial killings, disappearances, arbitrary arrests, and detention have been indiscriminately used against Balochis for years. Meanwhile, European Parliament member Rizad Zanaki said, "For the EU, it is unacceptable that Pakistan uses violence against people in Balochistan." He further noted that EU policies may change towards Pakistan if the Baloch situation does not improve. In Indonesia, a group of farmers from the Kendeng Mountains, central Java province, cast their feet in cement in front of the presidential palace in Jakarta on Tuesday. The farmers are protesting against a new environmental permit issued to Semen Indonesia's cement factories in Rembang, and said they would not shed their cement shackles until President Widodo revokes the permit and closes the factories. The area where Semen Indonesia's factories are has 109 springs, 49 caves, and 4 underground rivers that are still flowing. The factory has a negative impact on the environment, and in October last year, the Constitutional Court ordered all cement factory activities to be shut down in Rembang. Early in August, President Jokowi suspended all activities in Rembang for at least a year and ordered an environmental study on Semen Indonesia factories. The study concluded that the Kendeng karst area should be protected and cannot be mined. Flying in the face of the Constitutional Court's decision and the presidential order, on 23 February 2017, Central Java Governor Ganjar Pranowo quietly reissued the environmental permit for Semen Indonesia. Moving to Sri Lanka, even as the government is giving undertakings at the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva to eradicate torture and extrajudicial killings, 2 further extrajudicial killings at police stations in the country have come to light. Just Asia reported the case of Chadik Wickramaratchi last week, who was found dead one day after his arrest by the Paliaguda police. In the second case, Sunanda Dias was assaulted and arrested from his home, and 2 days later was found dead. Writing an open letter to Sri Lanka's Ministers of Justice and Law and Order on Wednesday, the Asian Human Rights Commission noted that the characteristic response of the authorities to such killings is to prevent serious investigations. Most importantly, the investigations are handed over to senior officers in the same area, rather than the Criminal Investigation Division, which is more likely to conduct an impartial inquiry. Also, pressure is put on judges by senior police officers to save their boys. The HRC urged the ministers to therefore assign the task of investigating police station deaths to a special unit of inquiry of the Criminal Investigation Division and enforce command responsibility at all police stations by holding senior officers responsible for such killings. Just Asia speaks to Basil Fernando for more information.
Sri Lanka is being questioned for a long time now in the Human Rights Council and many other UN bodies about extrajudicial killings, enforced disappearances, and the torture and the like. Despite of many undertakings given by the government, in reality, on the ground in Sri Lanka, there is nothing has changed. Government has not informed the police by a circular or by any other means that they have to stop torture and extrajudicial killings. No inquiries are being conducted into these killings which are of a satisfactory nature. The same superior police officers who are in charge of these police stations are being asked to investigate into these serious killings. Naturally, have to protect their subordinates, and no serious inquiry can be expected. Meanwhile, pressures are brought on the magistrates by the higher-up police to save their boys. That is how they refer to the police, as their boys. Many retired magistrates and district court judges tells about the extent of pressure they are under when there is an extrajudicial killing within the police station. Despite of all this, government has not moved an inch in order to make a difference. Now, when we compare this with Kerala, now we see some very advanced measures being taken. For example, that no police officer is allowed to question any suspect within individual police stations anymore. There are special police stations with special arrangements where any kind of interrogation has to take place, and these things are being video recorded, and the Kerala government is taking measures to ensure that security of the citizens and their respect for the human rights. Sri Lankan government does not do any such thing, and except rhetorics at international forums, nothing happens on the ground, and therefore people continue to suffer the same kind of problems that they used to suffer for a long time.
In India, a young man from Arunachal Pradesh called Higio Gungte was beaten by his landlord in Bangalore on March 6th and forced to lick his shoes. Gungte said the landlord hurled racial insults against him and kicked him continuously, making him bleed due to a water dispute. Gungte filed a complaint on March 9th regarding the physical assault and intimidation, and on March 13th he filed an additional complaint of racism. The incident is one among many recent racist attacks against the northeastern community in Bangalore. The Chief Minister of Karnataka tweeted that the police have arrested the landlord. Meanwhile, Home Affairs Minister Kiren Rijiju, also from Arunachal Pradesh, stated that his office is looking into the incident. In Burma, the country's top Buddhist body has banned radical monk Viratu from giving sermons for a year. Viratu has long led calls for restrictions on Burma's Muslim minority and stoked religious conflict. After the February assassination of the respected Muslim lawyer and government advisor Koni, Viratu openly thanked the suspects involved. According to Burma's senior-most monks on the State Council, the ban was imposed due to Viratu's hate speech against religions to cause communal strife and hinder efforts to uphold the rule of law. Most other monks in the country have remained silent regarding his rhetoric, and Aung San Suu Kyi's government has also failed to curb his hate speech. Viratu spreads his sermons on YouTube and Facebook, where he has thousands of followers and presides over 2,500 monks at his Mandalay monastery. A member of the ultranationalist Mabatha movement, Time magazine called Viratu the face of Buddhist terror in 2013. In 2015, Viratu used derogatory and sexist terms to insult Yang Hee Lee, the United Nations envoy in Burma. In India, amongst the celebrations for Holi, the festival of colors, 2 women's dormitories of the University of Delhi barred residents from leaving or entering the hostel premises. The festival is infamous for cases of sexual abuse and harassment on the streets during the vacuous public celebrations. To protect the best interests of residents, the hostels said undergraduates would be confined in the dormitories from 9 p.m. on March 12 to 6 p.m. on March 13. The president of the Student Hostels Union, Sabika Naqvi, termed the confinement atrocious. The men can remain free and roam about, she said, but the women, who are the supposed victims, need to stay. According to Pinchra Todd, a student group fighting against discriminatory rules in women's hostels, the rise in sexual violence and harassment that women experience around Holi is barely addressed. Instead, women are once again locked up for their own safety with arbitrary restrictions. Finally, the Urgent Appeals Weekly features 3 cases, 2 from Sri Lanka and 1 from Burma. In Sri Lanka, Mr. Shananda Dias was extrajudicially killed on 4th November 2016 by officers attached to the Gampaha police station. The victim was handcuffed to the hospital bed and unable to go to the bathroom without assistance because of his severely beaten body and swollen knees. However, the police told the victim's family that he died by jumping through a window and running away before collapsing. 4 months later, there have been no proper investigations into this killing. Also in Sri Lanka, a grade 9 student, Dilesh Anthony, was accused by his teachers of assaulting another student on 24 January 2017. He was sent to the Galaha police station, where on January 27th he was tortured by several police officers. He was later produced before the Kandy magistracy on fabricated charges. In Burma, a 22-year-old girl was sexually assaulted and killed by a soldier in Panduang Township in September 2016. Despite the soldier admitting to the murder at a police station, the army took him back to army custody for its own inquiry. 2 months later, the private has been turned over to Oksipin police station, but brought to town court for proceedings without informing the victim's family. That is all for this episode of Just Asia. For more on these and other issues, please visit www.humanrights.asia or www.alrc.asia/justasia. Thank you for watching and see you next week.